right, well, hello everybody. Welcome back to Frequently Asked Questions Friday. Again, we're not doing this every Friday anymore. We're just going to do it approximately once a month, and we're going to try to make them a whole lot shorter too. So today we have Jonathan again, and our topic today is secondhand texting, which I guess is kind of like secondhand smoking. So what we're talking about here is not you texting and driving, which everybody knows not to do that. But what if you know somebody else is driving and you're texting that person? What liability should you have, and maybe what liability should, say, a phone company have for letting you do that? Mm-hmm. Now, of course, there are automatic messages you can set up that just when you're driving, that just replies to somebody, "Hey, I'm driving right now.
Do not disturb."
Yeah, do not disturb, something like that.
I think the Apple one's the one that say it's urgent if you want to get through to that. So should each phone company have something like that? That's something I thought about. Should they all, Samsung, everybody should have that feature on their phone? They may or may not, but should they be required by law to have it?
So you're talking about the phone makers, not the phone providers.
Yeah, or both, whether it's Apple or AT&T or Sprint.
Yeah. And
it's a good question to ask, because if you're going this far, do you go a step further? Right. Do you go a step further that it should be them? I think it's very interesting to think about. I think it goes back to the same topic like with gun manufacturers. Are you going to go back to the gun manufacturers with when people are doing something wrong with the guns that you legally bought, just like you legally bought a phone?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So right now there is no case law on this.
Not on phone companies. Right. Not on phone companies.
And there's no legislation on it.
Not as of right now. So it's not clear cut by any means.
Yeah. All right. So we'll either need Congress to take it up, or we'll need some common law, which is
case laws.
Yeah. Otherwise known as case law or judge law.
Yeah.
All right. The next question is, should companies have some type of policy for their employees?
That's a good question. Should it be, written in the manual that says, hey, whenever you're, running an errand for your company, you're not to use your phone. You're not to, text or even be on the phone unless you have a hands-free capability where you can Bluetooth it, because obviously, say somebody from, the bank is running an errand and they get into an accident and they're on bank business, and somebody from the bank is texting them, they get into an accident. Yeah, that's something I think, there are a lot of companies that do it. Some companies disable the phones. I've heard that, it gets over a certain speed, they just disable the phone altogether.
Yeah.
To just remove it as a potential liability.
Now, I guess one argument against, having a specific policy exactly on it is, well, then you got to have a specific policy on everything. Like, don't eat a Whataburger while you're driving. Don't paint a painting. Should it be enough to just say, hey, don't violate the law and follow all the rules? And if the state says you can't text and drive, and the city says you can't text and drive, is that enough? Should that be enough?
There's no settled law on it, but I can see it coming up, because everybody breaks the law when it comes to texting and driving. Many people that we see every day probably do it, and obviously it's not working. So do you need to put that in to absolve a company from responsibility?
Well, if people don't follow the law now, is sticking it in a handbook going to make them go, oh no, now I guess I'll quit. I'll quit texting driving. But they put it in the handbook. Oh.
But it's like you said, we'll never finish if we keep going that route. Do not do this, do not do that. Yeah. Nobody want to work for you either.
Don't be a criminal.
Yeah.
All right, and then the next question is, what if you're texting with somebody and they text you, on my way? Should that be enough to tell a secondhand texter to stop texting the driver?
I think it goes back to, do you really know? Are they riding an Uber? Are they a passenger? Right. Do they have to go further and say, I am driving? Is on my way, clear cut to the person that's sending the text that you knew? There's been a little bit of case law that's out there, not specifically talking about, hey, somebody knew and they got a verdict against them, but there's been a case where they try to go against them. There's been a case that they try to go against them, and the standard has been, hey, if this comes up, it needs to be that they need to have known. So my way.
So you have to have actual knowledge.
Yeah.
Not should have known.
Yeah, and is on my way. I think you can interpret it a lot of different ways.
Right.
It's not clear cut by any means. On my way, it can mean a lot of different things. It's a lot of different people.
Sure, yeah, there's people go on my way and they're still sitting there on the couch. And, on my way means, yeah, I'm leaving in 5 minutes.
Yeah,
So,
or you're putting your phone in your bag before you're heading out the door. On my way.
Right. Okay, so there is case law on that, but is that criminal law or civil law?
As far as that goes, I know it was a death case that came up. The verdict was not against the individual trying to get them for secondhand liability, and it is not. There is no case law that has a decision against somebody that has known that they were driving. So it still has not reached that point for neither civil or criminal. Has there been a case law verdict on that?
No, but the case you're talking about that said you have to show that they actually knew. Was that criminally or civil?
It was in civil court, I believe.
Civil court. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Civil law. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then lastly, let's say courts and juries start holding people responsible for texting somebody they know is driving.
Mm-hmm.
Is one text, should that send you to jail or get you in trouble? Is 2 texts
The thing that I thought about when this came up was the case that happened, up north, where we had the assisted suicide case where the lady was texting him, and then he ended up committing suicide, unfortunately. Right. And in that case, it was reckless, wanton conduct. That she went above and beyond. She forced him back into the vehicle and say, "Hey, you need to finish this off."
Yeah, finish killing yourself.
Yeah,
you claimed you were going to go ahead and do it. Yeah.
So it's a hard standard. What is it? One text? Do you have to send multiple texts? What if they have the do not disturb feature? Do you got to go past that? It's not an easy thing. I think it's going to be one of those situations where you have something so bad, before, they start to put something in place, which is usually the case for any law that's written. Right. It's not until something really bad happens to somebody do they unfortunately decide to do the right thing then, and, start putting some pressure on, phone companies, to do something, or, just outright put a law together that says secondhand texting, it's illegal.
Well, I would think in civil cases, the standard would be reasonable. What would a reasonable person do? But I guess the first question you have to answer is, do you even have a duty to quit texting somebody? Let's say you're driving.
Yeah.
Do you have a duty not to text that person? I mean, it's up to them not to respond to you. Maybe you're doing something too, and you go, you know what? I'm just going to send him a text, and then I know he's driving, so he can answer it when he gets there. But yeah. I'm going to send a text before I forget because I got other stuff to do. Mm-hmm. It's not my fault if this guy's dumb enough to text me back. So I guess that it all starts with duty. Do you even have a duty to not text somebody to begin with if you know they're driving?
And the clarification that I think has been there is they will read it. They will read it.
Yeah, and there's people that just can't resist.
Yeah, and so, but at the same time, what if you're just there, you're minding your own business, you forget. They told you 10 minutes ago and you forgot, or you just don't think twice. You've done it. It's an unconscious action. You're just texting them all the time. Yeah. So I
think I know lots of people like that unconsciously text stuff.
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, we went a little bit longer than what I wanted to, but anyway, I wanted to keep this short, so we're just going to finish up. Let me mention real quick. Don't forget Fiesta de la Flor is coming up April 12th and 13th. Herrman Herrman is proud to sponsor El Mercado again, and stay tuned for free tickets to Fiesta de la Flor. We'll be giving away on social media. Cool. And radio stations. Okay, and we'll be announcing that when?
Sometime next week.
All right, first week of March. Okay, well, thanks everybody again for tuning in. Hope you enjoy the new format a little bit where we shorten things up some, and we will see you next time.
Great.
Jonathan, thanks for coming.
Thanks, sir.
All right.
Mm-hmm.